Hi, everyone, and thanks, Suzanne. My name is Caitlin Hay. I am the HR specialist for Wilkinson and Company, and here I'm going to share a few tips and tricks for managing with fewer staff. So very quickly, I'd love to provide a quick overview of my career. I have been fortunate enough to be working in the HR field for over 6 years and have a experience in a variety of industries, most recently working for Wilkinson and Company, supporting our 3 offices. But I do have a diverse background in a sense. I started in higher education, largely worked in manufacturing, have a brief period in the cannabis industry, as well as healthcare. And I really tried to keep in mind those experiences and the businesses that the Quinte West Chamber of Commerce supports in putting this presentation together today. So very quickly, I think it's important to just note what we're going to talk about this afternoon. So how did we get here? It's a question I want to understand. Looking at the 2023 HR trends, as well as tips and tricks on retention, recruitment, company policies and structures, total compensation, and technology to support you in managing with fewer resources. So I have to ask, how did we get here? Looking at the last 2 years and what we have to come in 2023, I think it's important to consider a few factors in really what got us to being in a point where there are fewer applicants coming through our doors and fewer staff wanting to start different careers or join new businesses. So a few factors to consider. You're not alone. The last 2 years, have introduced new challenges to the workforce. Largely, these have come in 3 different buckets: the COVID-19 global pandemic, staffing availabilities, and new workplace trends. But I think it's really important to take a deeper dive to understand, how are these 3 things linked? How have they really impacted our search for new candidates? So naturally, the global 19 pandemic has posed new issues for all businesses. But really, in terms of our staffing, a couple big factors were, vaccination requirements. That may have deterred some individuals from returning to work or led them down a different path. For a lot of individuals, they had shifting priorities over the last 2 years. With lockdowns and school closures, different individuals took on different needs at home, in their community, or in different businesses. I think a big piece that we need to understand is just staffing availability. Although we have a great diverse workforce, this is the first time in modern history where we have 5 generations in the workplace. But that brings a unique challenge for all of us as well. One thing to keep in mind is that we do have less individuals entering the workforce. If we look at stats provided from the recent census in 2021, baby boomers make up 21% of employees in our workplace today, but they are all very close to retirement. Less than half of the individuals between the ages of 14 and 24 are making up those who are entering the workplace. So there's already a balance that we're seeing in terms of finding a new generation of the workforce entering the workplace. And then something else to consider, we have a new way of working, a big trend that has emerged over the last 2 years, remote working. This has presented unique challenges, especially to smaller communities where individuals are now able to work across the province and across our country for businesses that offer remote work placements. This has opened the new doors for opportunities of individuals that they had never dreamed of, while still giving them the opportunity to maybe live closer to home or leave the Greater Toronto area. But unfortunately, this has weighed that we are now seeing we have less staff, we have less applicants, and that's really making us look and say, how do we get through this? Well, I'm here to share a few tips and tricks that I think a lot of businesses can implement, looking at the 2023 trends and keeping in mind the next few slides. So 2023 trends. I think to implement any new tips and tricks, we need to understand, the things that we are going to see in the next year. So a few insights that have really come forward in the HR industry and across a variety of markets. There's 5 big pieces that we need to be aware of. Remote work is here to stay. That has been a great trend that has dominated the workplace. And with more and more individuals being comfortable working online, as well as a variety of recent grads who have spent the last 2 years of their undergraduate career studying online, it's a very comfortable workplace for them. A study released by PayScale identified that 51% of candidates had mentioned had their workplaces gone back to a full in-office setting, they would likely resign. So remote work is here to stay, not only for those who are comfortable in it, but to attract different generations entering the workplace. We have an increased number of retirements. Unfortunately, this was something that has largely been impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic, with more individuals choosing to stay at work longer than they had anticipated. And as I mentioned, with 21% of our current workforce getting closer to retirement, it's something we need to be mindful of. And unfortunately, that's not going to help our staffing shortages, but sometimes it's better to prepare for some of these trends that we see. And I'm sure most of you are aware of this already, but there is an increased urgency in recruitment. Something I see in my day-to-day right now, going through the interview process, candidates are entertaining multiple offers. So it is something that businesses need to be prepared in acting quick or having a fast process in place. And don't worry, I have a few tips I'd like to share with you on that. Quiet quitting. This has been a big trend recently. Probably some words you've heard on articles or in the news, but what does it really mean? It doesn't mean that we're going to see more and more resignations. It just means staff are looking for balance. They aren't wanting to carry the stress that they have over the last 2 years, and they're going to want to see their true schedule be maintained. So be it a 40-hour work week, they're probably going to stick to close to 40 hours. It's just something we need to be prepared for if overtime has always been something you've relied on from your staff. And then I'm sure this is something all small businesses have seen and witnessed in the last 12 months, but we are going to continue to see competitive salaries and larger cost of living increases, with the last 12 months bringing new challenges in terms of inflation. And being that we are in a candidate-driven market, staff are going to ask for more, or they may want to see something different when it comes to their salary. Again, with the minimum wage going up in the province effective October 1st, we need to be prepared that we may see staff wanting a higher number on their pay stub. Doesn't mean it's always the driving factor, but it's something to be aware of as we go into 2023. But I promise it's not all doom and gloom. We do have some great things we have to look forward to. I'm very excited to share tips and tricks for managing with fewer staff. We're going to go over a few areas, and hopefully there'll be some pieces that you can take back and implement into your business. I think a big thing to remember when we don't see new staff entering our doors is, how do we keep our current employees, the staff who got you there? So a big focus when you're going through a staffing shortage is shifting your focus to retention. And some great retention initiatives that any business can implement are the following: stay interviews, recognition campaigns, and engaging your employees. And I'd love to walk through each of those for you. So stay interviews. These are very integral. This helps you understand what keeps your employees with your organization. It's a new trend as most organizations implement exit interviews. But when we're sitting down for an exit interview, it's too late. I think this is a great tip that you can really implement. It doesn't take a lot of time, but it is a proactive approach to human resources. One great piece to consider if you are wanting to put a stay interview in place This can actually help you develop new programs or policies to support your employees. It's a great way to gain their feedback and to make them feel heard. Recognition campaigns. We love to recognize our employees. You know, the ones that show up day to day, the ones who continue to put in hard work. So make them feel that. And I always stress to organizations, recognition doesn't have to be in a monetary form. A thank you can go quite a long way. And I encourage you to look at different programs that are either driven by management or even employee driven. Encourage your employees to recognize their peers. Some things that you can choose to implement are Employee of the Month campaigns, small thank you cards that when you or your employees recognize someone doing a smart act, a safe act, or a great act of customer service, have a card, have them recognized, put them in for a monthly draw, an annual draw. Give them a day off, although that may not be the best choice if we are facing staffing shortages. Excuse me. It's something that you can really explore. A common mistake, though, best employees are often recognized when they're almost out the door. So as a way to retain your employees, start early. Any little bit helps. You won't regret it. And last piece, it might seem very straightforward, but engage your employees. If you're going through a time of change or a time of transition, ask them for their feedback. This generates engagement on the floor. Ask your employees this one simple question. If you could do something different in your role, what would it be? It's amazing what suggestions you'll get. And if you are in a time of transition or looking for new pieces to implement, it's a great way to really implement small victories. Your employees will feel heard. This in turn creates an investment in their work and really engages them in the workplace. So a big piece of the last 2 years, the challenge in recruitment. And so I kind of approach recruitment in 2 different facets. Not only the recruitment process, but also our ideal candidate. So to start with the recruitment processes, it's time to rethink them. As I mentioned, there's going to be an urgency in finding new ways to recruit candidates. With 17% of most businesses adding full-time roles, we need to be creative. So I included a fun clip here. Hello from the other side. I must have called 1,000 times. Ways of phone screens and largely just meeting candidates in person, they're different. Rethink your interview process, and that includes your interviewers. Some great tips I'm continuing to see. Excuse me. I promise we'll get through this, guys, without me coughing so much. Have drop-in sessions, have open houses. These are great ways to attract individuals who have like-minded ideas or values to your business. I think a very traditional way of approaching interviews is just including a hiring manager, or if you're fortunate enough to have someone on site in HR. But why not attract those who you want those individuals to work with? So for example, if you have a great employee who's worked there for a long time, who loves connecting with new staff or loves connecting with your customers and is a true ambassador of your organization, provide them a script, have them be your interviewer. They bring and represent what the life of your business is to new candidates. And again, it kind of creates that engagement and investment into their work and into your workplace. One piece I always encourage is having a bit of structure if you are choosing someone who doesn't necessarily have a formal background in interviewing. By creating a script or an interview guide keeps them on track, but you get to channel their passion for your business and hopefully attract those candidates who really have those same like-minded values. This piece is a little different in terms of creating an inclusive job description. But what does that mean? Keep in mind, a lot of businesses are used to attracting a certain type of candidate and have always used traditional resources or sources. I always say, as we continue to modernize our approach, make sure that all pieces of that approach are up to date. So one thing I would recommend is removing any gendered language from job descriptions. You know, that will attract a greater and more diverse candidate pool. Try different job sources or postings, leverage the community that we have around us, because that may open a greater pool to be attracted to your roles, or really those job description will resonate with them. And a couple other pieces. It's time to rethink your ideal candidate. As we enter a talent shortage and a labor shortage, I think it's important to be mindful of, you know, what critical skills are important to your industry or your job description. If you can find someone who has 50 to 60% of the skills that you actually require and has a desire and eagerness to learn and to be trained, and you have a fairly decent training plan, program, or trainer in place, this is a great person to bring into your organization. Although their integration or onboarding may take a little bit more time, you're committing to their growth and their success at your organization. And explore internships. We're very fortunate to have a college in Belleville as well as universities close by. There's so many different opportunities that we can explore that really provide someone a great learning experience, and it fills a need. Although it is for a shorter period of time, if you have a very structured program in place in terms of understanding a true gap, need, project that that individual would work on, you'd be amazed of the skill set and talent that is coming out of our community schools who go to our local colleges and local universities. We're very fortunate at Wilkinson and Company to get to work with a number of co-ops throughout the year, and they bring fresh perspective, fresh ideas. And it's something I would strongly encourage exploring in a time where we may not see individuals who want permanent full-time opportunities joining the workforce. So with all of that, I also need to ask you, have you ever thought about, you know, what makes our business, our culture, our employees unique? Because that's why individuals come to work for organizations. Now more than ever, people want to belong to something that their core values resonate with, or, you know, something that stands out in their local community or their local area. And I think this is a very important question to ask yourself when we are seeing less employees come through our door, because this is a way that we can maybe attract someone else. And as we go through a period of change and see a continued shortage, it's a great time to break the rules, dare I say. But we can explore, you know, what is working in your organization and what isn't, but how we can also either support our current individuals or attract new team members. So a few things I would always consider when you're going through a shortage and needing to manage with fewer individuals. Take a look at your organizational chart. If you don't have one of those, review your current jobs. I think it's a great time to understand, where you can allocate resources to get the most value. And it doesn't mean collapsing jobs, so please don't think I'm encouraging you to get rid of open vacancies. But it's a time to be unique and explore how you can leverage existing talent with maybe an internal promotion, or how you can look at a role that has traditionally been done by one individual. But if we found some pieces that we could hive off to really give someone a growth opportunity, it's a great time to explore it. You get to set the tone in terms of finding new opportunities. Ask for volunteers. There may be someone who is interested in taking on a new opportunity, but don't overlook the talent that you have within. Flexible work. So you'll notice I didn't use the word hybrid work, but I think it's important that you start to really look at traditional days of work and how it can really work for your business, but your staff from within as well. We have some great policies at Wilkinson and Company that explore compressed work weeks, and our staff really love it. They work more hours in a 4-day period and get a 5th day off. Maybe this is something that you can explore to cover longer hours or shifts within the day, but you give an extra day off for your individuals. This also helps avoid burnout. Scheduling. Maybe something you've always traditionally hired for a full-time role. It could be done with some part-time individuals, but at a different time of day. It's a great time to explore that. We've seen some great success in having a part-time individual maybe cover less desirable hours, but it works in their schedule. It's something to try. If it hasn't worked in the past, the workplace is different. The employees are different. Now is a great time to explore it again. And cross-training. I think this is very important, as we've seen in the last 2 years with individuals needing to be off work at a variety of different times. It's really integral to have individuals be a backup for others. This also promotes professional growth within an organization, helps support engagement, and provides unique opportunity to someone who may not have been able to take on a full role specifically, or may not be ready for that next step in their career, but it gives them an opportunity to work on something different. Total compensation. And I want to think of this in the sense that I'm not just saying we need to increase salaries and wages, but we also need to rethink, the plans, the programs, the benefits, and the opportunities that we have in place for employees. And as we go into a shortage of talent and labor, I think it's really integral to, again, maintain your current employees and maybe explore different pieces to really keep them within your team. One of the biggest drivers for individuals staying with an organization is personal or professional growth and development. And although you may not have an opportunity for them to take the next step in their career, it's a really great time to provide the opportunity to upskill staff. If you aren't able to add an additional team member to your team, it might be a really great time to invest in your current staff member. We have local colleges that offer great development courses, and with the remote work piece being so accessible and a lot of courses going online, it may be a great time to explore this as a part of their professional development. So we do have to pay staff sometimes, I will say that, for those shifts that are maybe a little less desirable. This is a common practice that have been in place with shift premiums, but maybe it's something we want to explore now more than ever if it's in your industry that you haven't traditionally explored. This not only supports our current employees, but may attract future employees if it's a shift that maybe sparks their interest, but they can see a little bit more of an incentive to do it. It may help you tap into a different market. Wellness programs. I think more than ever with the quiet quitting trend emerging, this is something that will not only support our current employees, but also may attract individuals who are looking for that balance in their next role. A few things that you can explore with this are company challenges, maybe doing a walkathon. When I was with Life Labs, we had a couple locations track where they walked across the country. Although it was virtual and during COVID, all of our staff logged miles and they showed it weekly update on the map of Canada. Very cool initiative, and the staff loved it. That's just one small example. At Wilkinson and Company, we do different pieces and largely link our wellness program and our social and company events. Just something to keep in mind. Staff love it, keeps them engaged, keeps them healthy, and it's a unique program you get to add. Perk programs. One thing our staff always are asking for are new company items, company swag, I like to call it. These small pieces or formal perk programs just give staff something extra. A great resource to explore, and it often comes at zero cost to an employer, is Perkopolis. Provides your staff some perks, doesn't cost anything for your business to join. We also have the great programs that the Quinte West Chamber of Commerce runs for our local businesses and connecting staff with our stores downtown. It's a great resource to encourage and push in your staff members, and it gives them a little benefit as well. And then I briefly mentioned social and company events. So this provides an element of fun, as well as it helps you show appreciation for your employees. Perhaps it's a quick sports day like we like to do in the summers, or a trivia session after work, or during a morning huddle, having a piece of recognition, or cupcakes. Those are big things that we can all start to slowly get back to in a safe way with the COVID-19 pandemic, hopefully slowly coming to an end, but definitely being less of a presence in our offices. These are the pieces that get employees talking, get them connected. It comes as a form of total compensation, but it can generate so much more. And the last area I'd like to explore, and it's something unique and it's often seen as, dare I say, a negative, but technology. And again, this is not a way to remove jobs, but it's a way to help support individuals or maybe support businesses that aren't seeing additional candidates come in, but gives you a different avenue to explore to offset any staffing shortages. So it may be software, so specific software for your industry that can either help an individual in their current role and make it more efficient, or it supports a true function of your entire business. I know as my experience as a customer has been going to a spa or a salon where now you are using a booking app and not necessarily calling a receptionist. That might be a resource that you can explore to support your customer experience as well as your staff, and not having to find an individual fill that gap. A variety of applications. It seems that there's a new thing or a new trend that comes out every day where now you can book a table with a click of a button and you never have to call into a restaurant. Maybe it's not your ideal experience for a customer, but it's something that saves your staff that extra moment of connecting on the phone, or exploring automation. It's not something that we've traditionally loved for small businesses, or exploring to support staffing measures, but it is a great way to explore how you can support your individuals, make processes more efficient, and potentially impact your customers. And my last tip that covers all categories: leverage your network in your community, like your Chamber of Commerce. There are strength in numbers. There's power in sharing ideas, making a connection today with those who are attending this session. Share ideas in a time where we're all looking and facing the same challenges. It's a great time to really make those true connections. And although I can't be there today to answer questions live, Suzanne is going to be taking questions that you may have for her and submit them back to me. And I will get you responses as soon as I'm back in the office. Feel free to send them in and we'll get back to you about those. And I personally would love to thank you for attending this session. It has been great to share some tips, tricks, and some trends of what we have to see in the next 12 months. And for those of you who are hoping to get in touch or stay in touch, my contact information is listed on the screen.